So we're taking comments on the plan and also taking comments on that example list of rules to see that as we try to phase into something different, we're actually improving the conditions of the state, not just doing something different than they're not working. Do you think a criteria-based system will work?
Reading through the document, the terminology is dripping, and I hate to say it, with Agenda 21. Right? When you look at the words that you guys use, it is frightening. Right? There is no reason why we have to talk about social justice, social issues in an economic plan.
And it walks like a duck, and it talks like a duck. It's Agenda 21. This says the state of New Jersey will ensure that progress made is institutionalized in a way that can transcend time without perpetual recasting. Now, what this means is if this plan is accepted, there's no way to reverse course. It will take several years for the results of this plan to emerge, and by that time, all of the boards, councils, agencies, and processes that the plan advocates will already be firmly in place. And by that time, the bureaucracy that this plan has created will have metastasized throughout the society and will be impossible to remove.
Yeah, I want to remain in my suburban home. I want to drive my car as I need. I want to avoid the city as much as possible. Going up here is a nightmare, going through all that traffic. I don't want to be required to take a bus or train to work. I don't want to live in row homes. I don't want my children having to walk to school in these kind of dangerous times. I don't want to have my property rights taken away.
We have seen this kind of planning not only in 20th century Germany, but in the Soviet Union, Cuba, and many other totalitarian regimes. How did central planning work out for them?
First of all, I wasn't originally planning to say this. I travel 50 miles to go to my job. And I like the option of being able to do that and not being told by government that, oh no, I have to live right next to my job in order to have that job. I like living in a suburban community. I don't want to have to live in an apartment complex with people living right next to me. And if I'm in a position to afford it, and I'm in a position where I can have that, I want that option. I'm in America, and in America, that's what made us great.
And the state of New Jersey is vague, and they would like to keep things ambiguous and vague, so that we really don't understand that they do want land grabs within the state. A couple of things were very disturbing. There's a lot about social goals, which to me smacks of mandated social engineering. There's quite a bit in here that's pretty frightening. It talks about promoting development and redevelopment to create compact and livable communities. I guess they're going to decide where we live. They're talking about allocation of resources, of smart growth communities. So again, to me, this is pretty frightening stuff.
Do we want the UN to tell us how to live in New Jersey? Nope. That is totally wrong. Now, you may not see it yet. You may not see this. But after you see all the things that this gentleman has taught us about sustainable growth and his agenda here, they're almost parallel. They want to take away all the single-dwelling houses and put in houses that have 8 to 20 rooms in them. This is sustainable growth. This is not for me. I reject it. Thank you.
A goal of UN Agenda 21 is the concentration of the people of the United States onto 15% of the land in high-density housing near railroads.
Thank you.
Other goals are to eliminate private property rights, confiscate private farms, ban individual ownership of cars. Under this loosely and generally worded New Jersey plan, all of these goals of UN Agenda, including high-density housing, can be accomplished. Instead of liberating people from the tenements, this plan enslaves more people. The process has started. This is a redistribution of wealth plan in accordance with UN Agenda 21.
This plan is designed to move us to targeted, high-density urban areas near railroad tracks and live in tight, on top of each other, housing. This is Agenda 21. Don't let these people say they don't know anything about Agenda 21.
If this plan is allowed to be passed and put into effect, does that mean my grandchildren will no longer be allowed to live in Warren County? You're going to pack them up and move them into a city? We sit here and we talk about our property rights. And if you sit back, Thomas Jefferson in 1805 warned us all what was going to happen when we were allowed to banks and their institutions around them to grow up and control our government. We'd be delighted with property and liberty, and this is exactly what this is bringing forth. I asked a simple question before: how come in these resolutions that are getting passed through Sustainable New Jersey, the Highlands Acts, and good parts of this here legislation that they want us to eat and swallow, and they try to hide with gay marriage in the papers? Where's the newspaper reporters in here? Is there any in here? Where are they?
It says that the trend is as a continuation of the current sprawl. And we've heard people talk about sprawls. And basically that's just moving from urban areas to suburban areas. It's what we used to call the American dream. The plan calls for putting state resources into urban areas, raising population in urban areas. Urban areas are pretty much densely populated now. The only way you're going to get more people into the urban areas is to start building these multiple dwelling buildings, which Agenda 21 calls for. The plan calls for acquiring open spaces so that there's regulation on how you can use the open spaces. Agenda 21 says the same thing.
Within the plan, when I read it on the internet, I don't know if it's changed, but they keep talking about social justice. I have a bit of a problem with social justice. America is based on equal justice, not social justice. Social justice means different things to different people, but for a lot of people, it means distribution of wealth.
I was over in Denmark. They have this wonderful agenda over there. I got on the train from one town to the next, and you went by and you didn't see one house. But the next station had this big, beautiful apartment. And you went to the next town, you didn't see a house, big apartment house. And that's what you want to do. And also, I went to Russia and they had the same thing. And there, they had these big, huge buildings for people to live in. The windows were falling out of the building because they couldn't keep the upkeep on it. And this is what we're entering into. I believe this is where we're going down into.
My fear is that environmentalist movement has been taken over by extreme radical elements of this political spectrum. And what about the Mount Holly decision? You said earlier that the cities and municipalities will decide on the amount of affordable housing or low-income housing. Mount Holly decision is going to override anything the municipality or the state thinks they're going to do. Solar panel stupidity is a dead herring. It's just made by environmentalists.
Show me in the Constitution where it says the state will tell the people what to do. I didn't see that. I mean, is anybody else a human being in this room? Did this idea come from anyway? Was it from a communist nation that wanted to have America be just like them? I think that's where it comes from. Check it out.
There's a couple of Tea Party groups I want to mention. There's mine, Monmouth County Tea Party group. There's Jackson over here. There's Ocean County Citizens for Freedom. There's New Jersey Shore. There's Bay Shore. I think Middlesex just left. You know, if you want, hook up to somebody over here and come to a meeting.
5 years ago, and this was in 1997, the Rio Summit launched Agenda 21. Since then, 70% of our local authorities have been inspired to think global, act local, through Local Agenda 21, but we must do more. I want all local authorities in the UK to adopt Local Agenda 21 strategies by the year 2000. This was someone you'd never heard of by the name of Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the UK. This is real and it is here, and we must address it in a plan or else we're going to get sucked into this trap. One way to help stop this from happening is, and I'm not sure if anyone suggested this yet, but to implement something called a Property Rights Council. A Property Rights Council is a group of citizens whose mission is to make sure that no legislation is enacted, no ordinance passed that would tread on our right to property. Our right to property is sacrosanct and it's protected in the Constitution.
What happens also, if you remember previous history, the spread of disease in small local communities during the Middle Ages, because people crowded together and disease just ran rampant through towns and villages and killed a third of the population of Europe. Is that what we're going to put ourselves up to also? Again?
The American Dream League shoving me into a hub where I have to buy food in a store that may not have the things that I eat, or work in a job that doesn't pay me what I want. You live in a home? You live in a home? You live in a home? The other gentleman, do you live in a home? That woman in the back, do you live in a home? You want to be shoved in a hub? You want to live in a 2x4 box? Do you want to live like that? No. Do you want to have unclean water and no
very elitist.
You
want us to live there.
I sure as hell don't. And I know a lot of people in New Jersey don't either. We need to stand up for our rights. They're all we have. Don't let them take it away from us.
No.
Yeah.
So are we going to be corralled into these hubs? There's one way out. Now, there is a map out there on the internet. I don't know if anyone has seen it. It is the death map of Agenda 21. These areas are not connected. So this corridor is your egress and ingress into your hub. We came here when I was little. I'm not going to say how many years ago. And this family back home, I was stunned when I went back home and visited family that they, at one time, consider communism, Russian control. They lived in a government house in their little apartment. They don't have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. They have 3 rooms, 2 rooms, 4 rooms. Wow. Those were constructed so the plumbing was not adequate for toilet paper to go down. Imagine that. There was a truck that came by every week for your poopy toilet paper collection. Is that what we want here?
No.
Okay.
It looks like they have a scheme here to eliminate people with large properties and stuff like that in open space. You know, people that own open land. They got a way of, I'm sure there's something in there where they'll be able to confiscate it.
And I got to tell you that this is nothing more, and the terminology's here, it's nothing more than Agenda 21. Go get it and read it, folks. It's there. It's Agenda 21. And I'll be damned if the United Nations is going to dictate to me over my dead body in my country how to live. We need to abolish that law from 1985 called the Planning Act, because our forefathers did great without it. We don't need it then. We don't need it now. Thank you.
I don't need your people to tell me how I should think with my own mind. My Lord and Savior gave my own mind to think about things. I need your decisions. I got a township, I got a mayor, I got a council, that we should go through the work. I don't need the whole state, you guys, telling me how I should live in my town. Whether if I got a farm, if the cattle or something or whatever defecates in the water, you're going to come over and tell me that that's not sustainable, that's against this, and you're going to have a audit in my house to see if I got the correct dishwasher. If I don't have an energy saving, you got to get it. And solar heat, you got to have them on every roof before you sell your home. This is where you're heading, my man. It's like a dictatorship, and I don't like it.
When I hear sustainable development, red flags show up in my mind.
Did you know that public-private partnerships are a form of fascism? Why does this plan support public-private partnerships and fascism?
This is a bill of goods.
that's been going on for 50, 60 years. And it ain't coming, nothing's happening, man. We're paying more and getting less.
Best country in the world. I wouldn't want to live in any other country but this. But our government really sucks.
Our government sucks.
We suck.
Something's got to be done.
You know where all our water goes from? When you have it in the tap, it goes down the drain. It goes to the sewer. And guess what happens when they go through the sewer? They throw it out into the rivers and into the ocean, and it's gone. That's all our clean water. In Germany, they process that water. In Hamburg, they say, people there say, we're drinking water that's gone through 9 people already. When it goes into the sewer, they refine the water, and they can ship clean water to the next town. We can do that here too. Just get in the highlands so we can get all this stuff, all the water from there, when we got it right here.